Hello, angel babies. Welcome or welcome back. My name is Trisha, and this is Trisha's Temple. You are somebody who lives in surround sound. The voice is very loud for you. The world is very loud for you. All of your senses feel like they're in technicolor. You might be somebody who has a very vivid imagination. You might have a constant inner monologue. It's like your inner world and your outer world are just like feeding off of each other at all times. There are several channels open for you that you're experiencing all the time. So I want to look into what it is that you've been hearing in your inner surround sound. What have you been experiencing? And what's been the loudest for you lately? Okay. A few coming out. We have the fountain. Beautiful. The rose. And the mountain. So it's interesting. I was actually going to bring a card with me called The Well. And it's a card that I received at a party last night, which represents things like storytelling and accessing things from your inner world. The source of life. Water can also be extremely emotional. I think that you have been contemplating maybe what fuels this well for you, this fountain. And there have been a lot of different streams, different rivers that have kind of been leading into your main water source. And you've been trying to figure out, which one do I really want to connect to the most? I think that sometimes in the spiritual community, we can feel like, oh, if I'm not in alignment, then something is wrong. That there's something wrong with me, I'm not on the right path, that I've fallen by the wayside or something. But you're realizing that you have more of a choice. You have more ability to create the life of fulfillment and abundance and flow than it needing to be something that is forced or regimentally planned. Yeah. The rose. The rose makes me think of sensuality. It makes me think of other aspects of life that look like a rose. And kind of that going from being the seed or the blossom to the full bloom. And I think that some of the things that have been going on in your inner world are related to the seeds that were planted at various times in your life. And you have been deciding which ones you want to have grow, and turn into the beautiful garden that you are tending. That there might be certain thoughts or experiences that you have, and you're like, maybe I used to want that, or it may have been aligned with me in the past, but I no longer feel super connected to that, or it doesn't feel like it's helping me live the life that I want to live now at this stage of my life. So I'm going to prune that one from my garden, or I'm just going to invest my energy over here. More so, that I think some of the things that you have been experiencing lately is, oh, I'm noticing when I invest my energy in these places, in these spaces, with these people, that I feel more alive, I feel more sensual, abundant, more connected to that inner current in a way that doesn't feel super, like, it feels electric, it feels good, but not like it's running me ragged or going to leave me depleted after the fact. That you may have been attracted in the past to situations, people, experiences where you felt really depleted. You felt strung out after you had like this like very buzzing electric experience, and then it was like a high and then a big crash. And now you're finding more experiences where you're able to experience and feel that aliveness, but without ending up crashing after the fact. That it's something that fuels you and is like a sustaining fuel. Interesting. Yeah. The mountain. I feel like in connection with these two, that it makes me think of the concept that's like finding joy in the journey. That you have been on a long, sometimes arduous, sometimes beautiful, and everything in between. Your journey, your story has a lot of color of all variety, and perhaps you imagined that like when you reached this certain point at the top, or got to a certain vantage point, that you would have more knowledge or be a certain type of person, be someone that others respected, or feel more at peace in your life. But maybe you feel like you're down here where the cat is, and you're recognizing that actually you've always had the whole story within you the whole time. It's kind of like how the water that fills the well or fuels, like creates this fountain, was like within the depths. And when you like dive into those depths, then it is able to like come out and be the water that you drink. And it's not that the water didn't exist before it did. I'm feeling a little bit ungrounded right now. Maybe you've been feeling a bit unsteady, or like if you don't know the right way to go next, that it's like that there's something wrong with you, or it's kind of like that feeling of wanting to be like seem put together or seem like you know what you're talking about. And I think that you do. I think that you do know what you're talking about, that you are quite a wise person. It's like the phrase that said, like, you contain multitudes. But there might be moments in the next little while, and maybe even recently, where you felt a bit of trepidation. Like, if I go in this direction, I'm not as comfortable with all of these types of things. Like, it's kind of like if you were to like get a job promotion, for instance, and you were really comfortable and confident and competent. People maybe even like came to you for help in the position that you were in. But when you level up, you have to kind of go through these growing pains again of, oh, I am the novice learning how to have people underneath me who are coming to me, and different responsibilities. And of course, like, those growing pains are real, but maybe you're also forgetting that underneath that, or behind that, along the way, you've kind of been taking all of the steps that you needed to get there. That the preparation has already happened. You didn't just go from I'm thinking of a math thing now, like doing basic addition to calculus. Unless you're a math genius, which that's great for you if you are. All right, so within this like living in surround sound feeling, I want to know what has been the loudest part that's kind of wanting your attention right now, saying, hey, pay attention to me. And when you maybe like when you're trying to go to sleep at night, or just if you have a moment where you're not super busy, this inner part of you is speaking up. Okay, we have the Seven of Cups and the High Priestess. What a combo! I think that this inner part of you wants you to know that your intuition is valid. And maybe you have a tendency to, let's say, like, you had a conversation with somebody and something about it felt a little off to you. But then you're just like, oh, like, I don't know, maybe I was doing something wrong, or maybe I'm just like blowing it out of proportion because I'm sensitive, or maybe like I should collect more data. Does this sound like you? And if you are having that type of experience where you feel like you need to continuously collect more data to prove that your intuition is correct, that's fair. It's understandable, especially because we live in like such a masculine world that wants like very concrete evidence for everything. But I think that what your intuition is telling you is, hey babe, you actually do have a lot of evidence, and it comes from this very colorful story of yours that you've lived many lifetimes within this lifetime. You have a lot of wisdom within your body, and it is telling you when something is off. And that doesn't mean that you need to just be like, oh, I'm never talking to that person again, or I'm never going to that place again because the vibes were off. You can still acknowledge that sensation within you and then discern and choose, like, what do you want to grow? Do I still value a relationship with that person, or do I still want to go to that place? Do I still want to be in this environment in some way? And how can I make it more accessible to me? How can I honor this part of me that's saying, hello, something isn't right here, and allow myself to be in full bloom? Well, that was it really went off there. I think that you have actually a lot more that your inner world wants to say to you, and you have been practicing listening, and it's like the return and report, like, okay, so we did this thing, how did it go? And maybe you have a specific process that works for you. Maybe that's like journaling, or just like a quiet time alone, or maybe when you do the dishes, you just are kind of like in that like meditative type state. And during that process of moving the energy, flowing, and being present with yourself, you will have these recognition moments where you're like, okay, this is what wasn't working for me, this is what was. And it doesn't feel so much like policing or saying this is bad and this is good and this is how things have to be forever, but more of a taking stock or an experimentation of how energy moves through you. And what frequencies resonate with you. Like, maybe that person that you're talking to, maybe nothing about them is quote unquote wrong or bad per se, but it was that you two were speaking from a different frequency. Maybe you put on an article of clothing and it didn't feel right to you because it's not your frequency anymore, or maybe it wasn't, but now you are able to feel that. The High Priestess, she's all about that internal sovereignty. What else does this beautiful collective need to know about their surround sound life? Wowzers. We got the Empress too. I think that you need to give yourself some more credit. For all of the work that you have done to get to know yourself. I just saw 2222. And that part of the reason that everything might feel very loud and you might feel like you're a sensitive little baby sometimes or a snowflake or something is not because you're just like, I hate everything, but because you are a highly tuned instrument. It's like if you were to, I mean, I'm not saying that no, I'm just going to say this. When a new child comes into the world, I'm not sure why I said it like that, like I'm in The Giver or something. When a baby comes into the world, they are extremely sensitive. And we just kind of acknowledge that. And we don't say that anything is wrong with the baby for not being able to eat certain things. Like, we're not like, excuse me, baby, like, why can't you eat all of this red meat right now? You just came into the world. And why can't you walk? And why can't you talk? And why can't you do all of these things? The baby is barely learning to process all of the information that is being thrown at them. And you have had more time on the planet, but perhaps you are having a renewal of self that you've gone through. Call it a deconstruction, call it a removal of a lot of the old systems and patterns from your past that once created a type of scaffolding or sense of safety and stability, but really weren't supporting you anymore. And now you are finding yourself feeling a lot of that vulnerability again. Like, the world is really loud. And sometimes that comes with like a deep rage or fear or just like an ache for something better. And when you wake up, when you have a spiritual awakening, if you want to call it that, there is so much beauty. Like, you might notice all the birds and the synchronicities and the beauty of being a human, but there is also, in equal measure, a deep ache for the pain and the bullshit. A real frustration. You're like, why did we do it like that? Like, one of my things that's just like not super consequential is a frustration about clothing tags. Like, why did we decide to put them there in the most sensitive part of my skin? That is really uncomfortable. I hate it. So maybe you have had some moments like that where you just start kind of freaking out and feeling a sense of maybe initially judgment, but then you're able to pull that back and be like, it's actually pretty understandable that I'm feeling this way, and return with some self-compassion. Yeah, I think that you have a lot more of this Empress energy, which is how I like to see it, is like if all of the four queens, the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands, and the Queen of Swords, joined forces, they would become the Empress. I think that you have a lot more of those four elemental strengths, that you've learned a lot of lessons from those aspects of yourself, the emotional aspects, the communication and boundary setting and knowledge aspect, the passion and creativity aspect of you, the sense of sovereignty and stability and abundance aspect of you. Six of Cups and the Six of Wands. Twinners. Both of these. So, again, like, giving yourself some recognition, giving yourself some, like, a big hug. Something that I really like to do is just like hug myself. Someone even told me that they will like give themselves little kisses like on the arms or hand or something, because I think that we're all a little bit touch starved, especially if you don't have a significant other. We crave that safe sense of safety and closeness. Anyway, I think that you feel maybe like you're at a threshold, a moment where you're ready to be seen more, seen and heard more, and recognized more. And part of that process is you giving yourself your flowers first. That the more that you believe in yourself, as cheesy as it sounds, oh dear, these are gonna fall. Hang on. I just made it worse. I'm just gonna put them here. That the more that you are able to believe in yourself and acknowledge what it has taken for you to get where you are, even if you feel like you have so far to go still, because I hope you do, you're not gone yet. You still have more in your journey. I feel like to say that somebody's at the top of the mountain is to say that they're gone, that they have left Earth. They've deceased. They have deceased. They are deceased. Anyway, I think that you are finding ways to celebrate yourself. And that could be in like a more literal way, like maybe you go to the grocery store and buy yourself a little cake and throw yourself a little party for something that you recently accomplished, or just for making it through a difficult chapter of your life, for leaving behind a challenging relationship, or just because it's Tuesday. And being human can be really hard. And this is actually making me think of something that I saw, and a girl said, when all of my coping mechanisms have failed, all like the healthy ones, I go towards some others. And one of the ones she said was that in the shower, she'll pretend like she's talking to somebody very important who's just telling her, like, how have you done it? Like, how have you made it through? And you like still did your laundry, you still like put on your pajama, you like changed it into a new set of pajamas, amazing. And she'll like give these like very thorough answers. And I just think that that's amazing. And I think that you're finding more and more ways to celebrate yourself and notice the tiny victories that you have. You know, the Six of Cups is about like reciprocal relationships, symbiotic relationships. And what it made me think of this time is that you're having more of that type of a relationship with yourself. I saw something and it was listing out abuse, like signs of abuse. And the way that I read it, I was like, oh, like, do I do that to myself? Do I have an experience and then start to tell myself that didn't happen the way that it happened, you know, like second guessing? Do I, like, how do I speak to myself internally or externally, if you're somebody like me who likes to talk out loud to myself? That you're starting to have more of a harmonious, symbiotic relationship with yourself that is reviving that sense of aliveness. Maybe you're even noticing, okay, can't say that, but noticing signs within your body that you are more alive, more vibrant, more connected to yourself. That could be things like your physical appearance, feeling more like radiant, looking more radiant. It could be things like your digestion is better, or that you're more turned on, just like about life. You know, this reading was not at all what I expected, but I feel like we've looked at a lot of really beautiful things. I do have one more question, which is how, I don't know why I'm shuffling this again, but how can you return to that state of like inner home, or like your home frequency? Not, take that back. Let's first look at, what is your home frequency? The Ace of Wands. I just wanted to pause and really look at this card for a minute. I feel like it has a lot going on. There's this show that I watched growing up called Stargate SG-1. I'm a huge sci-fi nerd. And this particular show, there's one episode where where SG-1, the team, goes to a planet and they meet these really interesting people, aliens, and then they bring one of them back with them to like learn more about them and even like kind of study it, but they don't seem to have a human language, or like they don't speak in the same way that you and I would speak to each other. So they're very curious, but then this creature starts to get very sick when it's like back at the lab, or like where they are at, by, I can't remember what they call it, like the base. And they're like, what's wrong with it? Like we don't understand. And then they take it back to its home planet, and as soon as it is there, it starts to recover. And they learn that the planet itself has a whole system underneath the ground that creates this like vibration, a certain resonance that they can't hear audibly, but that these people are communicating through vibration, which really is what's happening with your voice. And I think that you have been learning more of what your home planet really looks like and feels like to you. And that it doesn't have to be some like distant dream, or like there's this quote that's like, the homesick alien in me recognizes the homesick alien in you. that you can acknowledge that part of you that's like, Earth, there's something kind of not so great about Earth, but you've also like accepted that you are here and you're finding a way to like make your home here on Earth, if that makes sense. Of course it does. It's such a funny thing that we always say, if that makes sense, after we say something that should definitely make sense. And I think one of the big ways that you are doing this is through, the word I heard is initiation, but what I mean by that is like connecting to this passionate spark within you and kind of following it like it's a little guiding light. That whenever you notice yourself lighting up about something, like let's say you smell a candle and you're like, that smells really good. My body is reacting to that. It's resonating with that. Then you're like, that's part of my home planet. Let me bring it with me. Or like same thing with clothing or the people that you talk to. And you're creating this very clear communication with your passion, like the things that light you up and excite you, and where you do feel that like buzzing within you. I mean, it's really back to this, what's illuminating or blossoming. Okay, so when you feel disconnected from that part of you, or just like a little bit like it's harder to find things that resonate, maybe you feel like you're in a bit of a dry spell or something, how can you return to that home frequency? Six of Pentacles. We've had lots of sixes. Actually, I want to read what this one says in the book. Because I think... Here we go. The trees can... Stop it. The trees communicate through a network of signals, and their collective spirits shine, permeating with the power of universal love. Their earth energy attracts and supports life all around them. They share their gifts, and in return, they receive love and care. Message: you will grow from the experience of sharing your wisdom and gifts with others. Keywords: giving and receiving, community, prosperity, power, gratitude. That was magical. I think that one of the big things that you will find yourself doing when you are feeling a little bit disconnected from your home frequency might seem a little bit counterintuitive to the average Joe. Like maybe you might feel the tendency to retreat or harvest. It's not the right word. Harness. Kind of like gather all of your energy in But instead, you are doing the reverse. You are finding people or spaces where you've previously connected and known that it was a safe space, that it resonated with you, and you're sharing, you're having like that symbiotic relationship again. Even if it's just sharing your story with the trees or the river or the birds or ChatGPT. And it's not even that much about that the fulfillment and you like being able to return to that sense of harmony within yourself. A lot of it comes from almost like moving that, just from moving the energy, getting it unstuck. That maybe you will have a tough situation come up, like maybe at work your boss does something that's frustrating or hard, and normally you would just keep that to yourself and not bother anyone with your troubles, but instead you decide to voice it, to move that energy so that it doesn't get trapped within or like stay stuck and bothering you anymore. And then you start to notice that you're not holding so much of stuff, so much energy and just like gunk that didn't even belong to you to begin with. Man, that hasn't happened yet, but I was about to, or like I had the memory of when I used to bear my testimony in church, and I would be like, and I'd like to say these things in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. And how like in a lot of ways this experience of like writing tarot and doing these like intuitive storytelling thing, doing the intuitive storytelling thing feels quite similar, but not so focused on one facet of the diamond. Now I can explore many facets of the diamond, all facets, and find the ones that feel most resonant to me. And I think that that's something that you are experiencing as well. Like maybe there was a time in your life where you felt like you had to follow a certain script for your life, and now you're realizing, oh, like I can dress like this if I want to, and that actually makes me feel way more alive and like myself. Or I really enjoy being around these types of people, and I feel like a better version of myself around them, a more complete version. So I'm going to hang out with them. But thanks for being here, for being one of my people in this little community that I'm building. It means a lot to me. If you're interested in a personal reading, more support on your individual journey, we can dive into whatever's coming up for you, whether that be something love related or career, dreams, whatever feels necessary and pertinent for you right now. I'd love to be a part of your journey. Love you. Bye.